Chapter 18, Pizza and Puzzles. The dinner is Dad's idea. He calls from work late Monday afternoon and tells Mom that he called Alicia's dad and invited their family to come for pizza at 7:30. Mom squawks, but it's already set up, so we're having a dinner party. Except it's not really a dinner party, it's a meeting about me. The dads finally want to talk deep science about the Bobby situation, and the rest of us will have to make the best of it. When sets of parents get together, it's always risky for the kids. Back at the beginning of 4th grade, I had this friend named Ted. We had fun messing around at school, and he came to my house for an overnight once. Then Mom got the bright idea that his family should come for dinner. Ted's parents were nice people, just not educated like Mom and Dad. Ted's dad ran the parts department at a Ford dealership, and his mom was the secretary at a real estate agency. It was a bad night. Mom wore a black dress and pearls, and she cooked this fancy meal. Dad wore a sport coat and tie, and he was icing down some expensive wine when the doorbell rang. Ted's folks walked in wearing jeans and matching Disney World t-shirts, and they handed Dad a cold 6-pack of Miller Lite to help the party along. And that night pretty much ruined my friendship with Ted. But tonight's different. Tonight is more like a science seminar. And under the circumstances, everybody seems pretty comfortable. Except maybe for Mrs. Van Dorn. She doesn't really want to be here. I think she wishes I'd never bumped into Alicia. She shakes Mom's hand, and they look like they can survive the evening together, but I don't see a great friendship in the future. Mrs. Van Dorn is only a little taller than Alicia, so Mom makes her look tiny. She's got narrow shoulders and slender arms with delicate wrists, graceful hands with long, thin fingers. She's not as pretty as Alicia, but she might have been, about 25 years ago. Her hair is longer than Alicia's, and she pulls it back from her face with a comb on each side. It's about the same shade of brown. There's a strength in the way she carries herself, but she never seems to relax, never lets down her guard. Alicia seems so much more self-confident than her mom. And I think Alicia must get some of that from her dad, because the professor is way off in his own orbit, out where it doesn't matter how crazy your hair looks. The U of C has a killer astronomy department, and this guy is way out on the front edge. He's only in the door 3 seconds before he starts spouting some theory about spectral analysis and the refractive indices of protein substances. And he's carrying a big box full of books and papers. Dad nods as the professor talks, and then he flips out some chunks of jargon. And all the while, they're both peering at the well-dressed young man who's got no hands or head poking out of his flannel shirt, which is me. I'm thinking it's going to be a long night, and the slightly embarrassed look on Alicia's face tells me she agrees. Still, it's hard to ruin pizza and root beer and ice cream. And once the eating starts, things loosen up. During dinner, everyone is careful not to talk about Bobby, the missing person, or the cops, or jail time. So there's nothing to do but chat and try to be happy. Mom and Mrs. Van Dorn, who has now become Julia, discover that they both went to Northwestern and both majored in English literature. So they're in academic heaven, talking about this professor and that course, this novel and that poem, and all of a sudden I'm afraid that they might turn into good friends after all. Because I bet that having moms be pals is almost as tough on kids as having moms who can't stand each other. So after dinner, the dads are in the front parlor with the French doors closed, leaning over a big round table, each scribbling away on pads or yellow paper, spinning out theories like madmen. Dad has his collection of books and articles spread out on a card table within easy reach. I look through the glass door and I can see my file folder there on the corner of the card table. My timeline and lists of stuff in my room. It looks like they've got a long night ahead of them. Alicia and I are sitting on the floor at the living room coffee table, and we're done with our pizza. The moms are sitting on the couch, jumping up every few minutes to pull a favorite book off the shelves, laughing and impressing each other with their deep mutual love of literature.